The scream ripped through the crowded street before anyone
What?
understood what
What
was
did I just
happening.
do?
Cars honked, people shouted, and in the middle of the chaos, 9-year-old Zara sprinted between moving vehicles with a black leather wallet clutched tightly in her shaking hands. "Stop that girl!" A security guard barked behind her. But she didn't look back. She couldn't. Every second counted. Every breath she dragged in burned her lungs, but she forced her legs to move faster. She darted past a bus, squeezed through 2 taxis jammed at a traffic light, and didn't stop running until her small feet slapped against the uneven pavement of a narrow alleyway. Only then did she collapse against a wall, trembling from fear, adrenaline, and guilt. What did I just do?" she whispered, staring at the wallet as if it might explode. A billionaire's wallet. The man whose face had twisted in shock when she'd reached into his suit pocket. The man whose voice, deep, commanding, still echoed in her ears. "Where's my wallet?" Zara squeezed her eyes shut. She didn't want to remember the panic on his face. She didn't want to remember the shame that stabbed her chest as she'd slipped her hand into his jacket. But she had no choice. She needed the money. Her mother needed the money. Or she would die. Her throat tightened, and she hugged the wallet to her chest. "I'm sorry," she whispered to no one. "Mama, I'm so sorry." She opened the wallet slowly, praying, begging for a miracle. Inside were sleek silver cards, crisp bills, and Zara froze. A photograph. Her mother, younger, smiling, standing beside the same man she had just stolen from. Her heart stopped beating for a full second. "Oh my God," she breathed as her fingers trembled so violently she almost dropped the photo. Why is Mama in his wallet? The alley blurred around her. Her mind spun. She had seen that man for only a moment, but now she was sure. His high cheekbones, sharp jawline, the silver watch, the expensive suit. She remembered his face clearly. Who was he to Mama? And why was Mama's picture in his wallet? Her stomach twisted with fear, confusion, and a strange spark of hope she didn't dare acknowledge. Before she could think any further, her phone buzzed, a cheap device with a cracked screen. The caller was the last person she wanted to leave waiting. The hospital. She answered instantly. "Hello? Nurse? How's Mama? Is she okay?" "I'm coming, Zara, darling." The nurse's voice softened. "Your mother's condition is getting worse. We need the remainder of the payment to continue her treatment." "How much?" she whispered. "We still need $800 to cover today's procedures. And if her liver fails," the nurse sighed. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. You need to hurry." Zara swallowed hard. I'm bringing it now." She ended the call and stared again at the wallet. She needed this money. She didn't want to steal. She hated stealing. But she was fighting the whole world alone, and the world wasn't fighting fair. She pulled out the cash, $800. Her hands shook as she counted it. Just enough. Her heart ached with guilt. She imagined the billionaire returning home to realize his money and wallet were gone. But then she pictured her mother lying pale and breathless on the hospital bed. "I'll return it," she whispered. "I promise. I'll return it when Mama gets better." She pressed her forehead against the wall, breathing shakily before pushing herself back to her feet. She didn't have time to think. She didn't have time for fear. Her mother might not survive the night. She ran. The walk into the hospital was the hardest part. People stared at her worn sandals, her dirty clothes, her terrified eyes. But Zara kept moving until she reached the front desk. I have the money," she stammered, placing the bills on the counter. The nurse blinked in surprise. "Zara, where did you get this?" Zara's heart hammered. "I worked. I sold things. Please, can Mama get the medicine now?" The nurse hesitated but eventually nodded. "I'll process it. Go to your mother. She needs you." Zara rushed through the hallway, weaving around doctors and patients until she reached room 43. She quietly pushed the door open. Her mother, Miriam, lay on the bed, frail, sweating, and breathing heavily. The sight made Zara's chest ache. "Mama," Zara whispered. Miriam opened her eyes slowly, managing a weak smile. "My baby, you're back." Zara folded into her mother's arms, fighting tears. "I'm right here, Mama. I'll always be here." Miriam stroked her hair gently. "Where did you get the money, Zara? Did someone help you?" Zara froze. She had lied many times before, small lies to protect her mother from worrying. But tonight, the lie she needed felt like swallowing fire. "I sold more biscuits, Mama," she whispered. Miriam sighed. "You shouldn't be carrying this burden." You're only 9. If you love deep, emotional storytelling and billionaire conflicts that feel real and raw, join the Primastery Hub family. Like, subscribe, and stay with us and let us know where you're watching from, because every story here pulls you deeper into a world you'll never want to leave. Zara shook her head fiercely. No, Mama. I'm your daughter, and I'll do anything for you. Miriam smiled weakly, and then her face twisted in sudden pain. Mama, Mama, what's wrong? Zara panicked. Miriam clutched her side, gasping. Zara screamed for help. Nurses rushed in, pushing Zara aside gently. She's crashing. Prepare the medication. Move. Zara covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face as she watched them work. Please, Mama. Please don't leave me. After several tense moments, Miriam stabilized, though she remained unconscious. A doctor approached Zara, crouching to her level. Your mother's condition is very serious. She has advanced liver failure. We'll do what we can, but she will need long-term treatment and possibly surgery. Surgery. Thousands of dollars. Money Zara could never dream of making. The doctor touched her shoulder. You're very brave, but you shouldn't have to do this alone. Zara wiped her tears, her throat tight. I'm not alone. I have Mama, and I'll find a way to help her. But as the nurse led her out of the room, the truth hit her. She had already stolen from a stranger. A rich, powerful stranger. And she still had his wallet. Her heart pounded as she pulled it from her pocket. What do I do now? Her fingers traced the edges of the photograph again. She stared at her mother's younger face, smiling beside the man she robbed. There was only one answer. She needed to return the wallet. Face her crime. Face the man. Tell him the truth. And maybe learn who he really was. It took Zara an hour to gather the courage. She washed her face in the hospital bathroom, tied her hair with a fraying ribbon, and gripped the wallet like a shield. Don't be scared, she whispered to herself. You didn't steal because you're bad. You did it because Mama needed you. She repeated the words over and over until they felt real. Then she stepped outside and made her way to the tallest building she had ever seen, the headquarters of Cole Enterprises. Security guards towered over her the moment she approached the gate. Little girl, where do you think you're going? One asked bluntly. I need to see Mr. Adrian Cole, Zara said, voice shaking but determined. The guards exchanged amused glances. And what business do you have with the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the country? Zara lifted the wallet. I came to return this. I stole it. Their faces changed instantly. You what? Before they could question her further, a deep voice echoed behind them. What's going on here? The guards straightened immediately. Sir, this girl claims she has your wallet. Adrian Cole stepped forward, tall, handsome, and intimidating in his charcoal suit. His sharp eyes landed on Zara and widened slightly. You, he said slowly. You're the girl from the street. Zara's knees went weak, but she forced herself to stand tall. I'm sorry, sir. I took your wallet, and I came to return it. I'm really sorry. The guard stepped aside as Adrian approached her, his gaze unreadable. Why? He asked quietly. Zara swallowed. For my mother, she whispered. She's dying. I didn't know what else to do. Adrian stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Come with me. He turned and walked inside. Zara hesitated only a second before following him into the building that would change her life forever. Adrian led Zara through a maze of polished marble floors, sleek elevators, and glass walls reflecting the midday sun. The office smelled faintly of expensive cologne and polished wood, a stark contrast to the cramped, dusty apartment she had run from. She clutched the wallet tightly, as if holding it too loosely might make the courage inside her slip away. You can wait here, Adrian said, stopping outside a large, dark wooden door. His tone softened. I'll get some privacy so we can talk. Zara nodded, perching on a leather chair far too big for her small frame. Her fingers traced the stitching nervously. She could hear the faint hum of computers, the murmur of phones, and the faint echo of her own heartbeat. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the door opened, and Adrian stepped back in. But this time, he carried a photo album. He set it carefully on the table between them and looked at Zara with a mixture of curiosity and something she couldn't quite place. Was it recognition? Zara, do you know who this woman is? He asked gently, flipping open to a page. Zara's eyes widened. The photograph showed her mother, Miriam, laughing in the sun, much younger, standing beside a man she didn't recognize immediately. But the resemblance hit her before she could think. That, that's Mama, she whispered, voice trembling. Adrian's expression changed. He stared at the photo as if it carried decades of memories. Yes, that is Miriam. His voice softened, almost breaking. I know this is going to sound strange, but I used to know her. A long time ago. Zara's stomach flipped. You know Mama? But how? Why is her photo in your wallet? Adrian took a deep breath. We were close, once. Before life took us in different directions. I didn't know she had a child. And now I see that child is you. Zara's jaw dropped. Me? You mean? She swallowed hard. Are you my father? Adrian paused, eyes locking with hers. The weight of years seemed to press down on him. There's a very strong chance, he said finally. I wish I could say I knew sooner. But circumstances, they were complicated. Zara's mind whirled. Her mother, weak in the hospital bed. Her small hands clutching stolen money to save her life. And now, this man, this stranger, might be her father. Everything felt too big, too fast, too real. I don't understand, Zara whispered. Why didn't you ever? Adrian's face darkened with guilt. I was married when I knew her. I made mistakes. Decisions I regret. I didn't know how to come back. But now, I can't ignore the truth. Not anymore. Zara clutched the wallet to her chest, her mind spinning. But, Mama, she's sick. She almost died today. I had to do something. Adrian reached out, placing a gentle hand over hers. You were incredibly brave. I can't imagine the fear you felt. But stealing, it's not the way, Zara. You were trying to help, and I see that. But there are other ways now. Ways I can help. Tears filled Zara's eyes. I wanted to save her. I couldn't let her die. I know, Adrian said softly. And now, you don't have to. Come with me to the hospital. Let me help her. The hospital smelled faintly of antiseptic and fear. Zara ran to Miriam's room, Adrian following behind. The nurse paused, surprised to see the billionaire himself walk in, but quickly stepped aside. Miriam lay in bed, pale and exhausted, but stable. The moment she saw Adrian, her eyes widened in shock. Adrian, she gasped, voice weak but sharp. What, how? Zara stood beside the bed, trembling. Mama. He knows everything. Adrian knelt beside Miriam, taking her frail hand in his. I didn't know I had a daughter, he said quietly. But I do now. And I want to help. All of you. Miriam's eyes narrowed. Pain, disbelief, anger, they all flashed across her face. Help? After all these years? After leaving me alone to suffer? I know I failed you, Adrian admitted. I was a coward. I had a life I couldn't leave. But I want to make things right. If you'll let me. Miriam's hand trembled. She stared at him, searching for honesty in the deep lines of his face. Do you know what it was like? She whispered. To raise her alone, to watch my body betray me, to feel every day like I had no one. Adrian's throat tightened. I can't undo the past. But I can help you now. I promise. No conditions, no judgment. Just help. Zara reached up, touching her mother's cheek. Mama, please. He can help. We don't have to be alone anymore. Miriam looked at her daughter, then back at Adrian. Slowly, her anger softened into cautious hope. All right, she whispered. We'll try for Zara. Adrian nodded. Thank you. That's all I need. Just a chance. Over the next few weeks, life shifted in ways Zara had never imagined. Adrian arranged for Miriam's treatment, covering medical bills, medications, and even arranging for specialized therapy. The doctors watched in quiet amazement as Miriam's condition slowly improved. Zara returned to school, her uniform neat, her books new, and her backpack bright and full. She still helped around the house, but now she did it with hope instead of desperation. Adrian visited often, sometimes taking Zara to see exhibitions, sometimes helping Miriam with paperwork, sometimes just sitting quietly with them, learning to be part of a family he had never known. Miriam, too, adjusted to the presence of a man who had once been a stranger and was now a part of her life again. She kept her distance when necessary, but gradually, respect and understanding grew. She saw his genuine care for Zara, his willingness to right the wrongs he could fix, and it softened the walls she had built around her heart. A year later, the small apartment they shared was filled with laughter and light. Miriam ran a modest fabric shop, one she now owned outright. The living room smelled of fresh linen and spices. Zara, now 10, bounced around with a new energy, skipping between schoolwork and chores, confident in the safety net surrounding her. On the morning of her birthday, Adrian arrived with a neatly wrapped gift. Zara's eyes widened as she tore the paper away to reveal a small, intricately carved wooden box. "For you," Adrian said, smiling. "A little something to remind you that no matter what happens, you're never alone." Zara hugged him fiercely. "Thank you, Papa," she whispered. Miriam watched, a small smile tugging at her lips. "It's amazing, isn't it?" she said softly. "The darkest times, sometimes they bring the brightest light." Zara's cheeks were flushed with joy. She blew out the candles on her small cake, eyes shining, and whispered, "The darkest days brought me the family I didn't know I had." Adrian and Miriam exchanged glances, their smiles reflecting a new understanding. Forgiveness, courage, and love had woven their lives together in ways none of them had expected. And while the future remained uncertain, for the first time, they faced it as a family. That night, as Zara slept peacefully in her small bed, Miriam sat by the window, stitching a new dress for the shop. Adrian stood silently behind her, looking out at the city lights. "I never thought I'd see this," Miriam said quietly, voice soft but steady. "A family together." "You've built it, Miriam," Adrian said, his eyes reflecting the glow of the skyline. "I just had the chance to step in." Miriam smiled faintly, a mixture of gratitude and quiet joy. "And it's perfect. Not perfect, but perfect for us." Adrian reached out, placing a hand over hers. "Then let's make sure it stays that way." Zara stirred in her sleep, murmuring a happy, sleepy sigh. And in that quiet moment, the three of them sat together, connected not just by blood, but by the courage, forgiveness, and love that had carried them through the storm. Outside, the city pulsed with life. Inside, a small apartment glowed with warmth. And for Zara, the girl who had once run through the streets with a stolen wallet and a heart full of fear, the world had finally opened its arms, welcoming her into the family she had always deserved. In life, the hardest choices are sometimes the ones that shape us the most. Courage, honesty, and forgiveness can change destinies. For Zara, one brave act led her to the family she never knew she had. And for Miriam and Adrian, it was a second chance at love and redemption. No matter how dark the path, hope can always find a way. Zara's smile lights up the screen one last time, the cake candles flickering like tiny stars between her parents. And in that simple, unassuming apartment, a story of pain, bravery, and reunion comes to its heartwarming end. If you want more stories filled with danger, love, power, and heart-stopping twists like this, make sure you subscribe to Mystery Hub. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter, because trust me, what comes next will shake everything they thought they knew.